Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Where are we?
This is St. Paul's Cathedral behind us. Actually, we're so close. Look, I could touch it. Can it see? Like, see? So close. This is famous landmark, St. Paul's Cathedral. It survived the blitzing during the World Wars. Still here. So, yeah.
Holy place, pilgrimage.
Indeed.
Many
indeed.
people.
Before
Monument
we start,
erected to the glory of God.
yes. And it's very fascinating. If you haven't been, you should try to go. There's very fascinating artifacts inside that cathedral.
That what?
Cathedral. Okay, look, we just want to do a shout out to obviously all our lovely viewers, but Matt Gilbert, thank you very much for your loyal viewership.
Haribo! Spontaneous.
Just informed by his wife Priya Gilbert that he's a very avid viewer, so just thought for a shout out. Thank you very much, Matt. We hope to see you soon.
So a reminder to everyone, please like, comment and subscribe.
Yes. Matt, we hope you've subscribed as well, by the way.
Okay, now let's read.
Alright, let's read. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So it's Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 11. The glories of devotional service. It's Devahuti speaking to her son Kapila Muni. So Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between man and woman and between spirit and matter. Sankhya philosophy, as is well known, deals with Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or anyone who imitates the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enjoyer. Prakriti means nature. In this material world, material nature is being exploited by the Purushas, or the living entities. The intricacies in the material world of the relationship of the Prakriti and Purusha, or the enjoyed and the enjoyer, is called samsara, or material entanglement. Devahuti wanted to cut the tree of material entanglement, and she found the suitable weapon in Kapila Muni. The tree of material existence is explained in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as an ashwata tree whose root is upwards and whose branches are downwards. It's recommended there that one has to cut the root of this material existential tree with the axe of detachment. What is the attachment? The attachment involves Prakriti and Purusha. The living entities are trying to lord it over material nature. Oh, can you hear the bells? Since the conditioned soul takes material nature to be the object of his enjoyment, and he takes the position of the enjoyer, he is therefore called Purusha. Oh, fancy.
Fancy. Nine dongs, because it's 9 o'clock.
Oh, is it?
That was 3. 4.
Oh dear. So inconsiderate while we're reading.
Have a moment. Should be one more, I think.
Yeah. For those of you old enough or mature in age in the UK, you'd remember, it reminds you of News at 10 with Trevor McDonald, doesn't it? Anyway.
And Devahuti questioned Kapila Muni, for she knew that only he could cut her attachment to this material world. The living entities in the guises of men and women are trying to enjoy the material energy. Therefore, in one sense, everyone is Purusha, because Purusha means enjoyer, and Prakriti means enjoyed. In this material world, both the so-called man and so-called woman are imitating the real Purusha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the enjoyer in the transcendental sense, whereas all others are Prakriti. The living entities are considered Prakriti. In Bhagavad Gita, matter is analyzed as apara, or inferior nature, whereas beyond this inferior nature there is another superior nature, the living entities. Living entities are also Prakriti, or enjoyed, but under the spell of Maya, the living entities are falsely trying to take the position of enjoyers. Devahuti wanted to get out of conditional life and place herself in full surrender. The Lord is Sharanya, which means the only worthy personality to whom one can fully surrender, because he is full of all opulences. If anyone actually wants relief, the best course is to surrender under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is also described here as Saddharma Vidam Varishtam. This indicates that of all transcendental occupations, the best occupation is eternal loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma is sometimes translated as religion, but that is not exactly the meaning. Dharma actually means that which one cannot give up, that which is inseparable from oneself. The warmth of fire is inseparable from fire. Therefore, warmth is called the dharma or nature of fire. Similarly, Saddharma means eternal occupation. That eternal occupation is engaged in transcendental loving. That eternal occupation is engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The purpose of Kapila Dev's Sankhya philosophy is to propagate pure, uncontaminated devotional service, and therefore he is addressed here as the most important personality amongst those who know the transcendental occupation of the living entity.
Interesting. Dharma actually means that which one cannot give up, and that which is inseparable from oneself.
Yeah, I think that which one cannot give up, from the sense of, you can't get rid of it. It's just, that's just the way it is, as opposed to can't give it up because you're attached to it, sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and just did that. That's just.
Oh, okay. Maybe all of our viewers at home didn't.
Okay, all the viewers.
Oh, 10 million of them.
Text 12. Matriarch said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of the transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. Well put. Devahuti has surrendered her confession of material entanglement and her desire to gain release. Her questions to Lord Kapila are very interesting for persons who are actually trying to get liberation from material entanglement and attain the perfectional stage of human life. Unless one is interested in understanding his spiritual life or his constitutional position, and unless he also feels inconvenience in material existence, his human form of life is spoiled. One who does not care for these transcendental necessities of life and simply engages like an animal in eating, sleeping, faring and mating has spoiled his life. Lord Kapila was very much satisfied by his mother's questions, because the questions stimulate one's desire for liberation from the conditional life of material existence. Such questions are called Bhagavatam. Those who have actual spiritual interest are called Sat, or devotees. Satam prasangat. Sat means that which eternally exists, and Asat means that which is not eternal. Unless one is situated on the spiritual platform, he is not Sat, he is Asat. The Asat stands on a platform which will not exist. But anyone who stands on the spiritual platform will exist eternally. As spirit soul, everyone exists eternally, but the Asat has accepted the material world as his shelter, and therefore he is full of anxiety. Asad Grahan, the incompatible situation of the spirit soul who has the false idea of enjoying matter, is the cause of the soul's being Asat. Actually, the spirit soul is not Asat. As soon as one is conscious of this fact and takes to Krishna consciousness, he becomes Sat. Satam Gati, the path of the eternal, is very interesting to persons who are after liberation, and his lordship Kapila began to speak about that path. Interesting. One is full of anxiety when he accepts the shelter of this material world. And the whole point in ignorance and illusion that we accept the shelter of the material world, and we all just want to be free from anxiety and feel peaceful and calm, but we're always putting out forest fires in relationships and the environment, with the government, with the weather, whatever it is. There's always something, some issue, you know. And that's just the nature. It says the material world is just anxiety. The irony is we don't need to go through it because we're all eternal. We don't need to fight the fires here at all.
But I guess one could argue that you're here fighting fires because you have to, and there's probably something to learn from those fires that you're fighting so that you make progress, so that you don't have to come back here. Because otherwise, why would you be here if you didn't have something to learn, you know? Like that? Does that make sense? Text 12, is it?
No, it's 13.
Okay, yeah. The personality of Godhead answered, the yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. So Lord Kapila Dev's confirmation. Purport. In the material world, everyone is trying to get some material happiness. But as soon as we get some material happiness, there is also material distress. In the material world, one cannot have unadulterated happiness. Any kind of happiness one has is contaminated by distress also. For example, if we want to drink milk, then we have to bother to maintain a cow and keep her fit to supply milk. Drinking milk is very nice. It is also a pleasure. But for the sake of drinking milk, one has to accept so much trouble. The yoga system, as here stated by the Lord, is meant to end all material happiness and material distress. The best yoga, as taught in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, is Bhakti Yoga. Haribol. It is also mentioned in the Gita that one should try to be tolerant and not be disturbed by material happiness or distress. Of course, one may say that he is not disturbed by material happiness, but he does not know that just after one enjoys so-called material happiness, material distress will follow. This is the law of the material world. Lord Kapila states that the yoga system is the science of the spirit. One practices yoga in order to attain perfection on the spiritual platform. There is no question of material happiness or distress. It is transcendental. Lord Kapila will eventually explain how it is transcendental, but the preliminary introduction is given here. Okay, interesting. Any thoughts? A nice example about the milk. If you want to drink milk, no problem. You just got to get a cow. Then you got to maintain the cow. All this just so you can have a little milk to drink.
Yeah, but you can go to Sainsbury's and Tesco.
Buy milk from slaughtered cows.
Oh my days. Oh, him some milk.
Oh my nights.
But it's interesting that it says material happiness followed by material distress. Prabhupada gives that example of someone's underwater and then they get pulled out there, you know, that relief. He says that's the happiness in the material world, and you get dunked underwater again. And just got that little like, oh, it's alright, it's not so bad, dear. Yeah, my spouse is alright. Yeah, my kids ain't so grubby and horrible and all that. But then, you know, it's back down under the water and you're like, oh God, why did I do this?
Krishna. Nice example, huh?
Alright, shall we do one more?
Yeah, just 14, I think, isn't it?
14. O most pious mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system, which I explained formerly to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way. Purport. The Lord does not manufacture a new system of yoga. Sometimes it is claimed that someone has become an incarnation of God and is expounding a new theological aspect of the absolute truth. But here we find that although Kapila Muni is the Lord himself and is capable of manufacturing a new doctrine for his mother, he nevertheless says, I shall just explain the ancient system which I once explained to the great sages, because they were also anxious to hear about it. When we have a super excellent process already present in Vedic scriptures, there is no need to concoct a new system to mislead the innocent public. At present, it has become a fashion to reject the standard system and present something bogus in the name of a newly invented process of yoga. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Always trying to create something new. I'm the latest life coach. This is the latest exercise, or take this pill. Ignore the other stuff that I propounded and do this instead. But even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, I said this to the sun god so many millions of years ago, and I repeat it again to you, Arjuna. You know?
Yeah, like that.
So, that's how it is.
Very exciting. Lord Kapila Deva's conversation with Devahuti is really going to divulge and explain many, many very, very powerful, subtle, maybe some more gross, important issues of our spiritual practice. So let's all stay tuned for the next installment of Bhagavatam Bites. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Lord Kapila Dev ki jai. Devahuti Devi ki jai.
Let's put the
Srila
Bhagavatam
Prabhupada
on the cathedral. Why not? There you go. Hare Krishna.
God help me. Hare Krishna.